Chanley Painter has more on this.
Many of these scientists were researching UFOs or nuclear power and have either died or mysteriously disappeared since mid-2023. It includes several high-level astrophysicists and research scientists, as well as a few other professors, military leaders, and administrative assistants, many of whom with top security clearance and knowledge of America's biggest secrets. So the most recent official to disappear, a retired Air Force General, William McCaslin, was last seen leaving his New Mexico home in February without his phone or prescription glasses. He was only carrying a pistol. And his wife told 911 reportedly that it appeared he was trying to not be found.
Roblox reaches a $12 million settlement with the state of Nevada Wednesday, promising to implement safety and security features for underage users. The state launched an investigation in 2024. Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford says his office is working to hold social media and tech companies accountable for children's safety.
As our children connect online, we must be aware that there are those who would seek to harm them, who would prey upon them, and who must be kept as far away from them as possible.
Anthropic, creator of various AI applications, including the popular Claude chatbot, invited about 15 religious leaders to its Silicon Valley headquarters to talk about the moral and spiritual development of its technology.
Anthropic did not release a list of the religious leaders it invited to provide the advice, nor the religious communities they represent. Bob McGinnis, a leading evangelical expert on artificial intelligence, was not among the invitees, but says who they asked is very important.
A chatbot only reflects what the LLM has stored inside of it, and Christian ethicists ought to have scrutiny of what the LLM has in its reservoir of information. 5 of the experts self-identified as being from the Catholic faith. McGinnis says it's a bit late in the game to start asking questions from faith leaders. Claude is on version 4.6, and Anthropic just announced another platform called Mythos that is reported to be scary powerful and good at hacking. I think it's kind of late coming to the party here for Anthropic to begin to ask these questions.
AI companies have been dabbling with spiritual issues on their own, and McGinnis says spiritual guidance is urgently needed.
If you look at some of the weirdos out in Silicon Valley, they will promote the idea that you can be, quote, saved by AI, and that you can have eventually eternal life as part of the AI ecosystem.
McGinnis says no matter how advanced it gets, artificial intelligence will never be true moral or spiritual agents.
They'll never build a chatbot that has a soul or is sentient. What it will do is mimic human feelings.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
The mission of American Family Association is to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of American culture and give aid to the church here and abroad in its task of fulfilling the Great Commission. Further, AFA believes this ministry, as well as everything in the heavens and on the earth, belongs to God, and AFA's role is that of a trusted manager.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. It's Thursday, April the 16th, 2026. All right, in studio today with me is Tony Vitagliano. Good morning, Brother Tony.
Good morning.
And Fred Jackson.
Hey there.
And Chris Woodward.
Good morning.
Tony, your dad Ed, is he mad at me, or why didn't he come in to do the show anymore?
No, he's just, he's got to take some time every now and then. So, just got to.
What is he? He's a big, is he watching hockey, or?
Well, I mean, if there's any on right now.
I'm just teasing, folks. Ed,
this weekend he'll be watching.
Why is that?
Because his Boston Bruins squeaked into the playoffs.
Did they really? Oh, man.
They squeaked.
Yeah.
And they are going to be playing the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
Buffalo finished number one in their division.
Okay.
Which is a miracle.
Okay.
Absolute miracle. And so that's where they're pairing off the Saturday night. I think it all starts.
Okay.
So we know where Ed will be Sunday night.
Yes.
Watching the Boston Bruins.
There's another question about how optimistic he is about those Boston Bruins.
Hey, I pulled a fast one. I don't pull pranks because I don't like pranks pulled on me.
Yeah.
And I don't like when I pull a prank on somebody, the rare ones that I do. I'm always worried that they're going to have a heart attack because of that prank freak out moment, that everybody laughs at, and I'm always fearful of this. But so I don't do that to people. But I did do one against your dad one time.
Okay.
You may not know about this. Speaking of hockey, this is about 4 or 5 years ago. Anyway, this was bad. I knew your dad he's passionate about the Boston Bruins, hockey team.
Yeah.
And they were playing in like the finals or something like that, like the Stanley Cup finals. Weren't they in the Stanley? Yeah. And it was a big game. And so we go to the same church.
Yeah.
Your dad and I go to the same church with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I text the pastor.
Oh, no.
I know, you know where I'm going with this?
Oh,
Okay.
no.
I shouldn't have done this. I did repent. But I said, would you please text Ed and say to him, do you have a few moments because there's something really important I need to talk to you about, and do it right in the middle of the game.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And the pastor said, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't get to see the expression on your dad's face.
Yeah.
I only got to envision what it might look like. And so, and your dad's such.
Oh, I know what it looks like.
Yeah, it's like your dad was. I'm sure your dad was looking at his phone, going, "You're kidding me."
Yeah.
This better be life.
You want to talk now? No, I don't care. Whatever it is. But your dad said, "You sure?"
Yep.
Yeah, that's how your dad is. He's a great guy.
Man of integrity, but he definitely rolled his eyes. He ultimately answered, but
he had
it was definitely an eye roll,
I'm sure he had a momentary attitude issue problem, but he did end up. But the pastor said, you just got punked by Tim.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's the one that put me up to this. So, but that's one of those pranks you can't pull twice.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, so we know. So Ed will be back. He'll be back tomorrow. He'll be back tomorrow for the trivia show. Hey, before we jump into the news of the day, and it's all good, folks. Don't worry, we got good news all the way around.
Sunshine and rainbows.
It's shining rainbows.
Back to you.
Real quickly, we're wrapping up the registrations for the spiritual heritage tours for the summer. I say summer, one's technically in the fall, September. Our Colonial Williamsburg, Jamestown, Yorktown tour in September is full. We've got a handful of spaces left on June, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have some, and the Washington, D.C. trip, including Mount Vernon that we go and tour, that's coming up in September. That's all. We got a few seats left on that too, and June. So what I'm saying to you, if you've been thinking about, hey, I'd like to go on that spiritual heritage tour of Washington, D.C. and Mount Vernon with other listeners from all over the country, it's time to make that call. Okay, you may make that decision. So go to the web. What's the website, Tony?
Tours.afa.net. That's tours.afa.net.
It used to be Wildmon Group.
Well, Wildmon Group. If you also search Wildmon Group, it'll reroute you. It'll reroute you to tours.afa.net.
Okay, but give me the simplest way. If you go on the internet and type
if you go on the internet and type Wildmon Group,
.com,
or tours.afa.net,
okay,
either one will take you.
Tours, tours.afa.net. Tours.afa.net. On there, you can read the cost, the itinerary, all about it. Hotels we stay at, everything. So check it out. We got to, as I say, if you want to go on the June trip, it's time to make a call on that. We do have some seats available.
Seats open on Williamsburg for June.
Yeah. So what's the website one more time?
Tours.afa.net. or you can Google Wildmon Group, and it will take you there also.
And I'm planning on dressing up and being in character the whole time. So
Yeah.
I'm going to
play some stick and wheel,
Well,
and
yes.
you know,
I'm
churn
gonna-
some butter.
I'm going to churn some butter. So anyway, there you go.
Okay.
All right, Christopher,
Yes.
what do we got going on in the world?
Well, this is going to be a lengthy little segment here because we got a
Not
lot
going
to
to be
go
lengthy
over.
and little at the same time, Chris.
That's very true, sir. Over 10,000 U.S. troops are enforcing the Iran blockade. Over 10,000 U.S. troops are enforcing the Iran blockade. And I'll get into where exactly these service members are located. It's in the general vicinity of or near the Strait of Hormuz. And I'll explain in a minute why I'm using those terms. But for now, listen to a bit of the audio warning that naval ships are playing for ships in that part of the world. Clip 2.
All vessels are advised to immediately return to port if leaving and discontinue transit to Iran if that is your next port of call. Do not attempt to breach the blockade. Vessels will be boarded for interdiction and seizure transiting to or from an Iranian port. Turn around and prepare to be boarded. If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force. The whole of the United States Navy is ready to force compliance.
Now, this blockade, as it's being called, is part of the Trump administration's approach to bring an end to the war or conflict in Iran between the U.S., Iran, and Israel. And Fred posted some information on our website today because some people, I think, have been misled here to think that the blockade is literally in that tiny little area along the Strait of Hormuz, I should say. But Fred has posted a map on afn.net which actually gets into detail on where these ships are.
Yeah, the actual blockade by the U.S. Navy vessels, if you look at a map of Iran, the southern border of Iran borders up against Pakistan. So if you were to draw a line from that border down to Oman, up across the Gulf of Oman, that is where the U.S. ships are stopping vessels from coming out or going in, depending on what they're up to. Obviously, what they're stopping right now are ships that have gone through the Strait of Hormuz and are headed out with a load of oil, and the U.S. is stopping those vessels who loaded up in the Iranian ports. We just want to remind people once again, this blockade is just for ships that are getting oil from Iran, not from those other countries in the southern part of the Persian Gulf, Kuwait, UAE, et cetera, et cetera. Also, it was very interesting, and we're going to play a clip of General Kane. He's some kind called General Raisin Kane. He's head of the Joint Chiefs, and he gave a briefing this morning, giving the details of this. And what surprised me is that the blockade has been extended now to ships who left the Persian Gulf prior to the blockade. In other words, there are U.S. Navy ships out in the Pacific that are stopping ships that picked up a load of oil before the blockade started. So, Chris, it's number 10, I think, on your list?
Number 8.
General
8.
Kane
is number 8.
General Kane.
Let me be clear. This blockade applies to all ships, regardless of nationality, heading into or from Iranian ports. The U.S. action is a blockade of Iran's ports and coastline, not a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Enforcement will occur inside Iran's territorial seas and in international waters. In addition to this blockade, the joint force, through operations and activities in other areas of responsibility, like the Pacific area of responsibility under the command of Admiral Paparo, will actively pursue any Iranian-flagged vessel or any vessel attempting to provide material support to Iran. This includes dark fleet vessels carrying Iranian oil. As most of you know, dark fleet vessels are those illicit or illegal ships evading international regulations, sanctions, or insurance requirements.
Tony?
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like this is we're using all the tools at our disposal, obviously, to put more pressure on Iran. And according to Pete Hegseth in the article that AFN posted, we're using less than 10% of our Navy to enforce this blockade. So, I'm also a fan of the strategy of pulling back further. You know, like Fred mentioned and Chris mentioned, when I first heard about the blockade, my immediate thought was that, well, we're at the narrowest part of the strait because it would just be the easiest part, place to strategically enforce the blockade. But that would put our ships in range of Iranian drones and missiles. So pulling back more so to the Gulf of Oman puts our Navy further away from harm and allows us to still enforce this blockade. I think it's a good strategy.
Oh, it is. What I found out this morning was kind of interesting, too. This is all aimed basically of shutting down the Iranian economy because they depend on oil. But for Iran, people may say, well, you do have some ships that have loaded up. But Iran only has a storage availability of 3 days in their tanks on shore. So they can't put new oil into there anymore. They're all loaded up. So their oil is going nowhere right now. If it's going nowhere, they're getting no money.
Yep.
Part of the blockade, too, it's not just on the water. It's in the air over. We have tons of Air Force planes that are surveying the whole landwork out there. They can see the ships coming from various directions. So there are 10,000 Navy people, Air Force people, others that are involved with this. And that is why, according to U.S. officials, this has been 100% successful so far.
And I would assume, Fred, that this would also begin to put pressure on Iran's allies, to pressure like China, to start pressuring Iran. Like, look, you've got to do something about this, because none of the oil that we need from you is going to make it to us. So it's just, if it comes from an Iranian port, it's not going to make it to China, and China is heavily dependent on Iranian oil.
Absolutely.
There was a story from Fox this morning that reports that the president of China has put the pressure on Iran to go ahead and just open this straight up, because they do need that oil, like you said. So, we could see. Meanwhile, something else that could add a little bit or pressure on Iran, it looks like Lebanon and Israel are coming together in the way of some sort of peace agreement, perhaps even, and I can't believe I'm even talking about this, we're looking at the potential, guys, of Lebanon being part of the Abraham Accords, which is something President Trump achieved back during his first term. Israel and Lebanon have been in odds specifically because of Hezbollah, the terrorist group that operates within Lebanon. So, there's a lot to go over here with this, and it does appear to be moving in a positive direction. And people like Stephen Miller are still out there. We don't have to play this clip, but White House advisor Stephen Miller is still out there saying President Trump is prepared to do something militarily if all of this does collapse.
Okay, I'm going to ask the most important question. When are the gas prices coming down?
Well, the good news is, Mr. President, that gas prices are down today compared to what they were this time last week. They're down about 7 cents, but that is not Chris Woodward saying that gas is cheap, because it's redonkulously expensive. Yeah. Okay, that's how bad it is.
I was about to say, welcome to the spin room.
Right.
Yeah. The
Yes.
Thanksgiving dinner is down.
Wait,
The Thanksgiving dinner
Yeah.
is down 3%,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah,
3
yeah,
cents
yeah.
or whatever it was.
You saved
Wait,
20 cents on a turkey. Yeah.
I got to rewind this. What was that word you used?
Redonkulously. That's how bad it is. I
Oh,
made up the
that's
word.
just a made-up word.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is.
I thought you were you're studying French or something.
no.
And pulled that one out. So
I did take French in high school, but
listen, I said, my question was both serious and unserious at the same time, because the war in Iran needs to get over.
It does.
We need to get out as soon as we can, while achieving as much as we possibly can. I think that's the quote exit strategy. But the practical implications is what I was talking about for the average American out there. Yes, they're following and concerned about the war with Iran and their development potentially of nuclear weapons. But what impacts people's everyday lives across the country is the cost of living. Cost of living is impacted by the price of oil and gasoline at the pump. And so I know if the gas prices don't come down or keep going up, it's going to hurt the Republicans in November.
Sure.
Because the party in power, already by in power, I mean, who has the White House, who occupies the White House, that already traditionally at the midterms, that party, in this case a Republican, Trump, loses members.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that historical factor in, but then if you have the cost of living and inflation and price of gas going up, that's going to hurt them even worse at the polls. Again, not with Republicans necessarily, but with the average independent out there. Tony, you think gas it's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, look, the reality is that gas will go up $1 overnight, but it's going to take it 12 months to come back down that same amount. I mean, that's just the facts. And the hope would be, the hope would be the trajectory of the price continues to come down, but we won't. I'm kind of a pessimist sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that honest.
Okay.
I don't think we'll see gas at what it was before the Iran conflict by the midterms.
Yeah.
What are we paying here?
Oh.
It seems like $3.50, $3.60 a
depending
gallon.
on where
we live.
In Tupelo, you can drive around and see 30 different prices.
And you burned a tank of gasoline driving around trying to save.
That's right.
But to your point, we're paying anywhere from around $3.50 to approaching $4, depending on where you're buying it and how much.
What are they? Any reports of friends around the country? Are they anybody over $4?
Oh yeah, California's average. California's average is always outrageous, regardless of what's going on in the world. But they're paying anywhere from $6 to $7 in some parts of California now.
They've always had
They do this to themselves.
They do because they have so many regulations.
Yeah. They love them some regulation down in California. So.
California's average,
By the way, there are
586 is today's
average in California.
Average.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm saying some people, depending on where you are, you're paying $7 in some places for a gallon of gas.
That's true.
It's crazy. Some states have made a move to try to help motorists. I think Georgia's one of them.
Yeah,
they're getting rid of their state tax during this period to help lower the prices. So
then why do they have it in the first place?
Beg pardon? Why do they? Yeah.
It pays
do
for
you ever
roads
wonder
and bridges.
that?
Yeah.
We're getting rid of the state tax on gas.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why do we have it in the first place if we can do without it?
Yeah.
But is it like 10 cents or 20? Who knows?
Yeah. Anything to help.
Yeah. Now, speaking of spin, the White House, in the press briefing yesterday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was there with Caroline Leavitt to talk about things like energy. And Bessent is, quote, optimistic that we could see $3 gas in the not-too-distant future. Clip 4.
The Straits of Hormuz have not been completely reopened, so we will see. And I'm optimistic that during the summer we will see gas with a 3 in front of it sooner rather than later.
So not by summer like Memorial Day, but maybe by Labor Day?
Again, I'm optimistic that sometime between June 20th and September 20th that we can have $3 gas again.
Now, that kind of flies in the face of comments from President Trump and others that have said repeatedly, and I quote, gas is going to come down. Now it's optimistic they're going to come down a little. And if it's $3 a gallon, we were paying $2-something, like in the low twos before this war began. So $3 a gallon is not, you're not reaping that many savings.
Where's your optimism, Chris?
My hope is found in Jesus.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
That's what gets me through this segment and every day.
You say that, and you say that's the mic drop. I dare you to say anything back to me.
Yeah,
that's right. That was a good one, though, Chris. Listen,
I was sincere.
Okay,
that's what gets me through.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I think politically speaking, I mentioned earlier how the economy, we all know this, it's a truism, the economy is the number one issue for most people when they vote. The Republicans and Trump and everybody's aware of that. So you need some separation between the current economic situation especially with the gasoline prices, oil, the volatility there. You need some separation between that and November.
Yeah.
Okay. And that there's still time for that to happen. Again, I'm speaking just straight politics here. I'm not talking about principle or what's right to do in the Iran war or anything like that. I'm just talking about the impact on the voting in November. If you can get some separation, like June, maybe July at the latest, because sometimes things happen and it gets stuck in people's head, and even if the facts on the ground change, they've already made up their mind that they're going to punish the party they think is responsible for the cost of living increases.
Yep.
And this hurt the Democrats in the last time around. I'm talking about 2024 voting, the cost of living, inflation.
Right.
I remember everybody telling me, well, not everybody, but some people telling me, well, I'm voting for Trump or the Republicans because I want to see, because I'm tired of paying high price for groceries.
Yeah.
And cost of living, and that hasn't come down.
Yeah.
Right yet.
Yeah. Well, the trajectory was headed the right way. Before this happened.
Before what happened?
Before the Iranian conflict kicked off. So, and we're coming up on the summer. Gas prices historically go up even more during the summer because everybody's starting to travel. So, I'm like you, Tim. I'm a little worried that there, may not be the distance we need, or the Republicans need to get the economy where it needs to be.
The CEO of Chevron, I think it was, told the people they need to stop driving so much. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Huh? Did you see that?
That's like big
well,
tobacco
he doesn't drive himself
smokes.
anywhere. So in his mind, hey, don't y'all have people who drive you around where you need to go?
Well, I just thought that, that's interesting. The CEO of one of the largest oil/gasoline companies in the world is telling people to stop driving so much. I think he was just saying that if you want to cut expenses, don't drive as much. I didn't read the whole article. I just thought that was funny. Let's take a break right here. And this break is going to be $4.25 a minute. Okay? That's how much this break is going to cost you people. We're going to take a short time out right here. We'll be back with more of today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Tony, Fred, and Chris, and we shall return.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
Back more than 2,000 years ago, a very wise man wrote some very wise words. This is what he said. A word in season, what a help it is. The writer of the book of Proverbs was indeed a wiser man than we sometimes give him credit for being. The author of Proverbs went on to state that a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. There are some key words which, if one will genuinely use, will make life much more meaningful. There is the word of humor. Humor is, without a doubt, one of the finest medicines we have. It will cure a multitude of real and imagined ills. It will help calm anger, cool tempers, and remove hatred. One thing is for certain, it's a quality we could use more of in our tension-packed world. Those who have learned to use humor have found it a very good partner. Look at some of the fantastic salaries being given to top comedians these days. There's always in our world a place for humor and anyone who knows how to use it. Then there's the word of appreciation. Most of us have underestimated the real worth of this word. One day I received a note of appreciation from a friend of mine in the morning mail. It didn't take 2 minutes to write that note, and it contained fewer words than an average grocery list. Yet it meant more to me than any other piece of mail I received during that entire month. How often we could show appreciation and how few are the times we actually do it. thank you doesn't take 2 seconds to say, and it could last a lifetime. The wise man was correct. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. There's also the word of encouragement. Sometimes this word of encouragement makes the difference between heaven and hell. I have hit rock bottom in my life many times, only to have someone speak a word of encouragement to me and set me to whistling again. Just to have one person who understands and speaks a word of encouragement often makes all the difference in the world. One reoccurring phrase of Paul's was, "Hold fast." Paul knew well the worth of just a couple of words of encouragement. A word in season, what a help it is. Then there's the word of forgiveness. My guess is that we speak fewer of these than any other kind. This is true not because we need to speak fewer, but because they are often harder to speak. How much we need to follow the example of Christ here. The woman caught in the act of adultery, when brought to Christ, realized the unsurpassed worth of a word of forgiveness. How long has it been since we've spoken a word of forgiveness to one who has wronged us? It would do tremendous good for them and to us to speak it. There is also the word we speak for God. A minister desiring help in finding a job for a convict once wrote me, "God's grace, as I have experienced it, can do great things. And if it did it for me, why not for this man?" You know, the world's waiting to hear a word like that. A word in season, what a help it is. Saying the right word at the right time can truly be one of God's richest blessings. Let me close with a little poem. God wove a web of loveliness, of clouds and stars and birds, but made not anything at all so beautiful as words.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His love endures forever. Psalm 107, verse 1.
This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Welcome back to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening. Tim, Tony, Fred, and Chris, and we thank you, as always, for joining us each and every day. Today's Thursday, which means tomorrow's Trivia Friday. And Ed and JJ they're going to both be here? Okay, so Ed, JJ, and I'll be here tomorrow, so we'll have a lot of fun with the trivia show right here on American Family Radio. Talking about what's happening in the news and how it impacts our country and our lives. Chris, what's your next story?
All right. Some people may not be aware of this, but for a couple of years now, there has been a bizarre situation involving around 10 scientists with knowledge of space or nuclear secrets, government scientists. And Tim, they've mysteriously died or vanished without a trace. This goes back to about 2023. Someone that caught wind of this situation is Fox's Peter Doocy. And yesterday, during the White House press briefing, Doocy asked Levitt, "Hey, what do you know about these missing scientists?" Clip 1.
There are now 10 American scientists who have either gone missing or died since mid-2024. They all reportedly had access to classified nuclear or aerospace material. Is anybody investigating this to see if these things are connected?
I've seen the report, Peter. I haven't spoken to our relevant agencies about it. I will certainly do that and we'll get you an answer. If true, of course, that's definitely something I think this government and administration would deem worth looking into.
Very bizarre answer. Now, some people are framing this as White House breaks silence on 10 missing scientists. Basically, she's like, yeah, we've heard about it. And that's what she said.
She wasn't prepared for that particular question, and that's okay. I mean, Carolyn Levitt is amazing, but she wasn't. And she said she'd get back with him on that. Of course, Under the Biden administration, we circled back.
Yes,
back.
we did.
That's right.
Or she got
right.
deferred. Yeah,
We
they were
circled
deferred.
back,
this
but we never circled back. Or in the case of Corinne Jean-Pierre, right? I got that right?
Yes.
Flip open the binder and just start
Yeah.
reading.
I will defer you to the
reading the
Department
poem.
of State.
Or just straight out tell whoppers.
Yeah.
And know that the liberal news media is going to go along with you if you are a Democrat presidential spokesperson. Listen, this is a very serious story, Tony. For those who don't know, what has happened here?
So yeah, over the course of the last few years, or what that time frame is, I'm not sure what the time frame is when this first started, but there's been 10 scientists who have gone missing or died, and a lot of them were linked to similar labs or departments, like this last one, Hicks, who died, was linked to, he worked at the JPL, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory from 1998 to 2022. There's just an odd pattern, I guess, and I don't know, no one can really say for certain that there's any connection. It's just strange, and it's I think the media's picking it up because it's at this point too strange to just call it a coincidence. Maybe am I incorrect in that?
No, not at all. The story I was reading this morning, the latest to disappear was a retired Air Force General William Neal McCaslin. He vanished on February 27th, not too long ago. He had links to multiple nuclear officials, according to the reports. Now, according to the story, 68-year-old McCaslin, he was last seen leaving his New Mexico home without his phone, wearable devices, or glasses less than 2 months ago. He was only carrying a pistol, and his wife told 911 dispatchers that it appeared he was trying, quote, not to be found. So it's really strange.
How many of them are counted in this? And did it say that the time frame here, like the last 2 years
It's
or
since
something
2023.
like that? Okay, so 3 years, something like 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this sounds like a John Grisham novel, or what's the
Tom Clancy was
Tom
another
Clancy,
one. Yeah,
does international thrillers about international affairs. Okay, so this is really weird stuff. That's in that maybe there is no connection, but it sounds like there is. And I'll say this before you say that.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? In Russia, they poison people.
Yep.
I mean, they've been. If you oppose the leadership there in Russia, they've been known to. You know what I'm saying? Too bad they got some bad broccoli.
Yeah.
That's not speculation.
No.
That's happened a lot. Go ahead, Fred.
One more weird element. Just listen to this. Concerningly, and they name some other cases, all four have been tied to McCaslin through his work overseeing the Air Force Research Lab based at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which has been rumored to study extraterrestrial technology since the 1947 Roswell UFO crash.
Okay, somebody who that's got so many jokes written all over it that are inappropriate. Okay, so I'm not going to say any. But somebody vanishing is different than somebody dying.
Mm-hmm.
People pass away, and so it wouldn't be unusual that 10 people in their 70s or 60s or whatever died of natural causes or what. But when they vanish, did the guy vanish? And who was the guy vanishing?
McCaslin.
Okay,
this general.
That makes it sound like they were either knocked off or abducted. And if you're abducted because you know so much about American defense technologies, I mean,
No,
Am I crazy
think
here?
I think you're on. You're
That's
probably
that's where speculation leads.
but you
right?
have to go with what maybe is the most logical. If you're working on advanced technology at an Air
Right.
Force base,
Right.
and let's just all be honest here.
Yeah.
Things are ramping up in the world. The world
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be cooling down as these conflicts
Right.
start to rise. I mean, I got to believe our military's working on technology that they
Right.
would not want China or anybody else
Right.
catching wind of until we're ready to,
Right.
hopefully never have to, but until we'd be ready to reveal it. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the government just comes and knocks on your door, says, pack your bags, you're coming to work at a base, sign this paper.
Oh,
And,
you mean where maybe our own government would do something like that and keep their to protect the person or keep their identities. I don't know.
Yeah,
you're saying we don't know, and so it leads to speculation. That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Yeah.
One thing is clear is that this should get far more news coverage than it does, and I think that kind of shows you the state of the news media in this country, because you can find this story that we're talking about in a couple of places, but everybody except AFN, because we actually do stories that matter, everybody has a story on like the tryst between the sports reporter and the Patriots football coach. Like news outlets have become tabloids and they focus on stories that don't matter, whereas we really need to find out where people with space and nuclear secrets are.
Yeah.
50 years ago, this would have been a huge story.
Yeah, I think that a lot of news media don't want to be considered conspiracy nuts.
Right.
And so they don't touch that one because you believe, I guess they were all abducted by aliens.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't want to be in that category. So, all right, you're listening to today's issues on American Family Radio. We don't mind being called conspiratorial.
No, not at all.
Nuts. That doesn't bother us. There are real conspiracies in the world.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that movie with Mel Gibson called Conspiracy Theory?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
He played that part so
he did.
good.
He did. And it turned out he wasn't nuts.
Listen, I can't endorse the whole movie because I don't remember what all was in it. Honestly, I just remember it was Mel Gibson, and the movie was Conspiracy. Wasn't it called Conspiracy Theory?
Yeah, him and Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
Okay, and Mel Gibson, and he was like a taxi cab driver, and then inside his apartment was all these connections from all over the world about it. It was.
And they turned out to be true, or something.
It turned out to be true.
Okay.
The guy, it was funny. It was a funny but serious. Serious. It wasn't meant to be a comedy, is what I'm saying, but it had some comedic aspects to it. That was so it was called Conspiracy Theory, huh? That's what I. All right, you're listening to today's issues. Chris, what's your next story?
Well, something that is not a joke is this. California, they're having a gubernatorial election this year. Gavin Newsom is term limited, so he's going to be leaving office in January of next year. He's been there since 2019, and there are a number of people right now, I think 12 Republicans, 24 Democrats, and a whole bunch of non-affiliated people running to be governor.
I threw my name in that.
Okay.
I had in the ring yesterday.
I'll email you
you can add one
for
more
an interview
Republican
later.
to it there.
One of the leading Democrats is a billionaire by the name of Tom Steyer. Some people might remember his very brief campaign for president back in 2019 ahead of the 2020 election here in the States. But Tom Steyer is a billionaire, and he's one of the leading Democrats right now in their soon-to-be primary that they're having in June in California. And he may actually be the front runner now that Eric Swalwell has dropped out of that race. But Tom Steyer is in the news today because he, like a lot of other Democrats, are saying that we need to abolish ICE, and he's calling the actions of ICE to go after and remove illegal immigrants, criminals, stuff like that. Somebody responding to this is our new DHS Secretary, Mark Wayne Mullen. Here's what he had to say about Steyer criminalizing ICE. Clip 6.
ICE simply enforces the nation's immigration policies and deports individuals and goes after the criminals that should never be in this country to begin with. We're not doing anything outside the law. We're working well within the law, and they're doing the job every single day.
Now, despite Mark Wayne Mullen's comments, Tom Steyer is still making headlines. He'll still make headlines tomorrow. But that's why we do what we do here on the show, so that way people get the story, but they get the reaction that you're not going to get on LA NPR. Back to you.
Yeah. Anyway, that's California again, right?
That sounds like the punchline.
I know there's some. I know there's some.
Right?
I know there are a lot of good.
California.
There are a lot of good people in California.
Yeah.
There are.
We have supporters and
We have
listeners.
supporters and listeners. Yeah, but
A lot of readers to AFN.net are actually in California.
but overall, they're a liberal, whacked out state.
Now, for people not paying attention to
Or
this,
just a liberal state. Should I say whacked out? Is that inappropriate?
that's redonkulous.
Certain parts, yeah.
But for people not paying attention to this upcoming jungle primary, as it's called, that's how California does its elections. Steve Hilton is the British guy, tech entrepreneur, author. You've seen him on Fox.
He's a legal citizen.
Trump, yes, he became an American a few years ago.
Yeah.
Trump has endorsed him. So Steve Hilton is kind of the leading candidate right now. Chad Bianco, a sheriff from Riverside County, is also high on that list. But then you have a couple of Democrats.
Yeah.
Tom Steyer is the leading Democrat now that Swalwell has dropped out. And a lady named Katie Porter, former Congresswoman. She had a failed Senate campaign back in 2024. And so now she's running for governor there. Whoever the top two vote getters are in the June primary are the people that are going to be on the general ballot in November. So
Tell you what, Chris.
I've read up on this.
Yeah, I'm
super
glad
excited.
you're so heavily into California politics.
I have family there.
Oh, do you really?
I do. Mm-hmm. They live upstate in the Sacramento area.
We're normal people. Oh.
Well, there's some good people up there, but there's good people everywhere.
Anyway, let's just scratch California politics as a topic for the next week.
You want to talk nuns in New York?
Yeah, I'll talk nuns, but there's nothing we can do to help California.
The good thing, though, is that California's voting system is so rock solid and strict that it would be, whatever happens there is going to be completely legitimate. They take their voting system and integrity very seriously.
Yeah. What's going to be funny to me was when a Democrat wants to take another Democrat to court in the state over illegals voting. How's that going to go? Because listen, seriously, across the country, a lot of Democrats, they don't believe in stopping illegal people who are in our country illegally from voting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the SAVE Act was about. So anyway, you're listening to today's issue. Go ahead.
Yeah, still with election just for a second.
Yeah.
There is a special election in New Jersey today. When former Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill won the governor's race there, it necessitated a special election today to replace her in Congress. The Democrat who is running there, and I'm told is ahead in the polls heading into today's voting, Anna Lilia Meja, I think her name is. I would describe her as Zoran Mamdani in a dress, all right? Maybe even further to the socialist left. She wants free Medicare for everybody. She wants to forgive every kid's student loan. She doesn't like Israel. She says Israel's guilty of genocide. She right now, heading into voting today, is ahead in the polls.
Well, you promise all that. I mean,
yeah, really.
No surprise
in
there.
New Jersey?
In New Jersey.
Yeah. But we got to learn the hard way, I guess. That's the only thing that's the only comment I can give is
the one
you have to learn
they
the
have a
lesson
very
the hard way.
distinct choice. The Republican is Joe Hathaway. Very different, like one end to the other of the polar political poles. But because she's so wacky, she's backed by Bernie Sanders and AOC and all of that bunch. The people of New Jersey cannot claim ignorance. I mean, she's out there advertising, promoting her.
So is this for a U.S. House of Representatives seat?
It is. It is.
Okay, so this makes it, this, as we've said here before, the score in the House is like 3 votes in favor of Republicans. They don't have very much of a margin.
Right.
But this is probably a deep blue area, I'm guessing, in New Jersey. There are very few moderates left in the Democrat Party. John Fetterman, he's like the voice of reason.
you're purged out at some point if you are. I mean, they try to at least.
Yeah, well, they're trying to get rid of him. They'd like to get rid of him, but he can't.
would.
He's in the Senate with like 4 years left.
Do you know why they've moved so far left?
Why, Chris?
Because they listen to people like Bernie Sanders, who refuses to run as a Democrat. He's an independent. And for some reason, they changed their party politics and their agenda to court him and his voters when the guy isn't even a Democrat to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Mamdani being elected was
Zoran.
kind of the...
Don't forget Zoran.
Zoran Mamdani.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of the... I think the radicals took that as a cue that, like, look, see, we can win these elections, and people do want our policies, so they're just going to double down, triple down on it.
Yeah.
And
this lady sounds to the left of Bernie Sanders, though.
Yeah.
Well, the one in the mayor of Seattle, too, has also been described as Mamdani in a dress.
Yeah. Let's go on next story.
All right.
You got any stories left?
I do, yes. One of the things that
Our 401ks are going up.
What's that?
Let me inject that here. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah,
Chris.
if you want to
on
do
the
so.
good news side, of course, I'm talking about people. I'm not invested in the stock market.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be, but I had 2 nervous breakdowns.
Yeah.
Probably, and it caused
one around 2008.
Yeah, I had to be
around-
put in an institution in 2000 because that's when. Remember with the jokes about our 401ks becoming 201ks?
Yeah.
But so after that, Allison, my wife, I don't know, 10 years ago, we said, you know what? I don't care if we don't make a dime. We ain't losing no more. So we dialed still a part of our company, our ministry 401k plan, but not not at risk. But you know, I wouldn't say the same to Tony, somebody your age. I would say, you need to be somewhat invested if you're going to be in the 401k in the stock market, because over decades you're going to make a lot of money rather than you. That's the historical truth.
It is.
Right. And so somebody your age, Chris, I'd say be in the stock market. If you're going to be in the 401k, you need to be in some kind of investments to make more than 2 or 3%.
Right.
However, but on the good news side, the stock market, for some reason,
yeah, I'm trying to get to the bottom of that.
Is going up, and it set a record yesterday, right?
It did, and it's still in positive territory today. As a matter of fact, the current headline on MarketWatch is U.S. stocks tick higher, returning to positive territory after a record-setting day on Wall Street. Right now, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ are all in positive territory and will presumably stay there for reasons we're not clear on, although it does appear from various news reports, left, right, and center, that investors seem to sense that there may be a coming calm to this war in Iran. So that could be one of the big reasons. But
over to our stock market desk, Tony Vitagliano.
Well, look, I can't make heads or tails of it. The reality is, Trump and his administration watch the stock market like a hawk every single day. It looks like some of their policies are driven by what the stock market's doing at that moment. So it just seems like people are, like Chris said, the market is trying to get ahead of any type of optimistic news coming out of the Middle East. And once you hit the gas, sometimes you just can't stop it until you run off the road.
Some of it could be because of the announcement that was just made in the last few minutes. Apparently, there's been a 10-day ceasefire reached between Israel and Lebanon starting at 5 o'clock this evening. So,
and it's not Lebanon. I know what you're saying, but Israel's not at war with Lebanon. They're at war with Hezbollah, which is a terrorist organization that resides inside Lebanon.
Pretty much.
Yep. So that probably is going to encourage the stock market a little bit today, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So Trump's at war with the Pope. That's another war going on. You guys familiar with this? You know who the Pope is, right?
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the leader of the Catholic Church, the worldwide leader of the Roman Catholic Church. He's an American.
Mm-hmm.
Is his name Leo?
It is. Mm-hmm. That's his title.
Oh. Anyway.
The Carpenters.
No. by the Skaggs. And it wasn't Leo, it was something else. It's, anyway, I forgot the name of that song. I just, when they say the word Leo, that's what I think of. So, but the Pope, the Pope is and President Trump are in a war of words over the. Listen, this Pope is a left winger, okay, on geopolitical issues in particular. He doesn't like President Trump, and the feeling's mutual. And he said, "I'm not scared of Trump," and it's just. What do you think? I don't know if this is going to hurt him, President Trump, and the Republicans with Catholics, or not.
Yeah, I don't know what favorability.
Yeah,
I don't know what favorability the.
We got a clip.
We do.
Who's the clip by?
This is Rich Lowry, who is an editor at National Review and was on Fox this morning talking about the Pope's situation with President Trump. Clip 10.
Jesus told us, "Blessed are the peacemakers. But woe to those who manipulate religion in the very name of God for their own military, economic, or political gain, dragging that which is sacred into darkness and filth."
Of course, the Pope should pray for peace. He doesn't have to support this war, but he's being misleading about what the Bible says about warfare. He said a couple weeks ago on Palm Sunday, God does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war. Has he ever heard of David? Has he ever heard of Gideon? Has he ever heard of Joshua, some of the most important and compelling figures in the Bible who were warriors? Does he mean to suggest that God didn't listen to Lincoln or Churchill during for their prayers during the war, or he didn't listen to a doughboy who was frightened in a trench in World War I because he was waging war? It's preposterous. I don't know what he's saying.
Now, in various translations, Scripture also says in Ecclesiastes 3, verse 8, there is a time for war. So for the Pope to be saying we all need to make peace.
I don't see the Pope here making any room for context. That's the problem. There is a just war theory.
Yes.
That's
Thomas Aquinas within the Catholic Church.
Within the Catholic Church, right?
Wrote about it.
So if the Pope wants to argue this isn't a just war, the Iranian-American, then that's I'll listen to what you have to say. But he's just making a blanket. By the way, what was it? I thought he was from Chicago. His accent sounds like he's from. Huh?
Maybe he changes it a little bit for the audience.
I
can be country for you if you want me to.
Maybe he spent so many years in the Vatican that he's lost his ability to speak Chicago.
You want him to sound like a gangster, like the Chicago gang, like a Chicago gangster.
What was the coach for the Chicago Bears?
Ditka. Mike Ditka.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Ditka. All right, we'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Teenage years can be a time of trial. It can be really difficult, but it can also be the most fun and the best years of your parenting.
Dr. Jessica Peck is a pediatric nurse practitioner as well as a professor, author, and mother of 4. Dr. Peck is host of the Dr. Nurse Mama Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Central, and find her podcast at afr.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. The U.S. blockade of Iranian ports continues as CENTCOM says more than 10,000 sailors, Marines, and airmen, along with more than a dozen warships and dozens of aircraft, are involved in the effort. This as the ceasefire with Iran continues, with peace talks expected to start again soon. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says the U.S. is controlling the Strait of Hormuz because Iran has no navy to do so.
You like to say publicly, Iran, that you control the Strait of Hormuz, but you don't have a navy or real domain awareness. You can't control anything. The United States Navy controls the traffic going in and out of the strait because we have real assets and real capabilities. And we're doing this blockade, performing it with less than 10% of America's naval power.
Chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, providing some clarity on the current operation.
This blockade applies to all ships, regardless of nationality, heading into or from Iranian ports. The U.S. action is a blockade of Iran's ports and coastline, not a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Enforcement will occur inside Iran's territorial seas and in international waters.
Pope Leo XIV continues his public opposition to the U.S.-Iran war, tweeting, quote, "God does not bless any conflict." But National Review editor Rich Lowry says the Pope needs to brush up on Scripture. He says the Bible has a realistic view of the inevitability of human conflict.
Of course, the Pope should pray for peace. He doesn't have to support this war, but he's being misleading about what the Bible says about warfare. He said a couple weeks ago on Palm Sunday, God does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war. Has he ever heard of David? Has he ever heard of Gideon? Has he ever heard of Joshua, some of the most important and compelling figures in the Bible who were warriors? Does he mean to suggest that God didn't listen to Lincoln or Churchill during for their prayers during the war, or he didn't listen to a doughboy who was frightened in a trench in World War I because he was waging war? It's preposterous. I don't know what he's saying.
A national defense analyst is not confident that Hezbollah terrorists can be removed from Lebanon. Chad Groening has more.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio called the first direct diplomatic talks in decades between Lebanon and Israel a historic opportunity, but made it clear that no breakthrough agreement would happen right away. The talks this week follow more than a month of war between Israel and the Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorist group, which opposed the direct talks and was not represented. The Lebanese government wants to no longer be occupied by Hezbollah and contends that Iran and Hezbollah have been dramatically weakened, presenting an opportunity to establish full state sovereignty. Bob McGinnis is president of McGinnis Strategies, LLC.
I think Hezbollah is there to stay. Whether the Lebanese parliament and the rest of the country are tired of it, they should have said something about that 30 years ago. They didn't. They were coerced into accepting Hezbollah's presence and participation in parliament. It's like getting rid of a major political party in a country, and yet it's been involved in the political scene for a long time. They're well in place.
And McGinnis says we've had off and on good relations with the Lebanese.
I just don't see that the Israelis are going to fall through. They've been suffering tremendously because of the war with Iran and investment against Hamas in Gaza. So it's probably what they've done so far is not going to extend much more.
I'm Chad Groening.
And finally, there were fewer new claims for unemployment benefits than estimated.
Large-scale layoffs appear to remain limited. In the week ending April 11th, the number of new claims for unemployment benefits declined by 11,000 to 207,000, though continuing claims, those remaining on benefits, rose slightly to 1.8 million in the week ending April 4th. This week, Snap Inc., parent company of social media company Snapchat, revealed plans to lay off more than 1,000 employees. Snap says artificial intelligence is generating more than 65% of its new code. Ginny Coselda, Fox News.
There's more online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildmon and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. That's the name of this show. Here on AFR, we'll be here for another 24 and a half minutes. Tim, Ed, Fred, Ed's not with us today. Tony, the Tagliano,
is close enough.
Tony's filling in for his old man.
Ed Proxy.
Yeah, and what now?
Ed Proxy.
Ed's Proxy. Sound like a Broadway show or something. Yeah.
It's Proxy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ed's Proxy. Fred Jackson here with us, our resident Canadian American, and our resident Californian American is Steve Paisley Jordan.
Which is almost like
Another country.
a foreign country, right? Exactly.
I know, right? And we've said there's a lot of great folks out in California, but they're
a lot fewer of them now than there were like a year or two ago. They're all leaving.
But their politics is. Well, there's a reason they're on the left coast. Let's just put it that way.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Again, thanks for joining us, everybody. Steve, what is your first news story?
I want to go back to this. Can I just do a shout out, first of all, to Jimmy, who gave me this tie last night at choir practice, and I said I'd wear it today.
For those watching on the internet, Steve is donning a new tie.
Paisley tie.
A Paisley tie.
Jimmy was cleaning out his closet yesterday, brought this to me last night at choir practice, and asked me to wear it. So here I am.
Here you
Jimmy.
are.
Here's to
it
Jimmy.
Looks really good. It goes well with this shirt, too, I think.
For those who watch the show on the internet, on YouTube, Facebook, or our own streaming service, Steve has got the Paisley tie on.
He does. All right. I want to go back to this morning's press conference with Pete Hegseth and Raising Cane because
that's a song he sings or something?
That's General Kane, who's the Joint Chiefs Chairman.
Oh, is that what they call him, Raising Cane?
That's what he calls. That's what his name is, Raising Cane. It's Dan Kane, I believe.
I got you. Okay.
Anyway, Pete Hegseth was talking, and he had something to say to Iran. You better make wise decisions, and then he had something to say to the American press.
Okay.
So to the American press, he was talking. He said, I was listening to a sermon that my pastor was given on Sunday, and he was talking about the Pharisees, and it struck me that there's an awful lot of similarity between the Pharisees in the Bible times and the press today. And this is what he had to say about that. This is Cut 9.
Our press are just like these Pharisees. Not all of you, but the legacy Trump-hating press. Your politically motivated animus for President Trump nearly completely blinds you from the brilliance of our American warriors. The Pharisees scrutinized every good act in order to find a violation, only looking for the negative. The hardened hearts of our press are calibrated only to impugn. I would ask you to open your eyes to the goodness, the historic success of our troops, the courage of this president, and this historic moment for a deal that could end the Iranian nuclear threat.
Let's all join hands. Can we join hands and somebody lead us in Kumbaya?
Oh, goodness.
That's Pete Hegseth. He was going off on the Pharisees in the media. That's what he was calling them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were legalistic with Christ, criticizing it. Did he heal on the Sabbath or not? The healing wasn't the point.
I get a little uncomfortable sometimes with all these uses of biblical analogies on. Does anybody know what I'm trying to say?
I'm with you. I had the same feeling. It's just in light of recent events.
The Holy Scriptures,
it is
Holy Scriptures and the story of God and Jesus is divine.
Yes.
All right. So I'm not trying to criticize Pete Hegseth, who I think has done an excellent job as Secretary of War. By the way, when did that switch? He used to be Secretary of Defense.
That was last year.
When he was named.
He changed it?
He
Trump changed it.
Anyway, his job performance, I think, has been very good. Served the president well, and he's a very good spokesperson. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, look, I think biblical examples should be used for spiritual matters.
That's right.
That's kind of my view. I'm with you on the same feeling. It's uncomfortable when you start bringing in biblical examples and trying to fit them into what is essentially a worldly secular matter, right? The way the media treats a certain individual in regards has nothing to do with their beliefs, in regards to their policies, and that they, what they don't like about them as a person or, their political affiliation. Those two should not be intertwined. I don't know, Fred.
Now, to his point, I agree with your points that you're making, but to his larger point this morning, with regards to how the media is covering this war, I see examples of what he's talking about every day.
Right.
For instance, the videos that the Associated Press puts out, they go to where an Israeli missile has hit an apartment where Hezbollah was hanging out. And the angle that the Associated Press does looks civilians, Israel killed civilians, innocent civilians, without adding the context that Hezbollah terrorists took their missile launchers to that apartment building, to that clinic, etc. They're doing the same thing in Iran. They tell the story from the perspective, yes, there's innocent people being killed, but the reason they are dying is not because of America aiming at those individuals. It's because of the terrorists and the bad guys putting their bad people in those situations, just like Hamas did in Gaza.
Right.
And that's the point that's being raised. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If today's flock of mainstream media were covering World War II, they would be sympathizing with the Nazis.
That's
they would
pretty
be
accurate. Yeah.
They would be. That's to me as a journalist for 50 years, it's a scandal what's going on with the media coverage today.
I agree with that.
All right, you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network, and today's Jesus-Trump picture is Trump releases a picture of Jesus giving him a hug.
Oh, did that just come out?
I think it was this morning or last night. And did you see this?
I saw it briefly. Iran put out a AI video of Jesus coming down and grabbing Trump and throwing him into hell.
Okay.
So
Trump
there's a meme war going on.
Trump.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty innocent.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
For those who don't know, everybody pretty much heard about it. Trump when was it? A few days ago, released a picture of him as Jesus Christ. And he said it wasn't. Everybody else thought it was.
Almost everybody else.
Riley Gaines, said he shouldn't do this. This is wrong. And then he said, I don't like Riley Gaines anymore.
Right.
You saw that too, right?
I saw that. Yes, I did.
Yeah. So now he's posted a picture that is that says innocent.
It's a picture of Jesus embracing.
Basically of Jesus. Again, I'm uncomfortable with this anyway, but it's a picture of Jesus Christ hugging Donald Trump.
Right. Trump looks to be in prayer or something. Yeah.
You think?
I don't know. His eyes are closed.
Made a bogey.
Yeah.
I think, but anyway, just bad joke. Yeah. Anyway, but President Trump posted this picture today of him and Jesus, and Jesus is giving him.
So this is the video. I'll show this to you, Tim, and you can tell if you want to put this. But this is the video that Iran released. It starts with the picture that Trump put up of himself that everybody thought was Jesus, but this is what Iran did to it. You can see there actual Jesus coming down.
Yeah.
Grabbing Trump and throwing him into the pit.
Yeah.
So that was Iran's answer to the Trump.
You know what? Maybe everybody should just chill on making pictures, and videos for a little bit. And I think I'm going to take that approach. Maybe everybody should just pull back,
including Trump.
Yeah, including Trump.
Well, he doesn't like you
pull
anymore.
Back of posting.
He never liked you.
Well,
you know that, right? He just said I never liked Tony.
It's an overall
He said I never was a fan of Tony.
You know. Anyways, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
that's my
let's
opinion.
just leave it at that.
My opinion. I'm only on here just one day this week.
I only mentioned it because I wasn't going to bring it back up, but I only mentioned it because Trump was the one who either a few hours ago or last night decided to release another picture But this time it was a depiction of Jesus Christ putting his arms around President Trump, and President Trump's eyes are closed.
Yeah.
So there you go. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Next story, Steve.
The California Supreme Court yesterday.
We've already had enough California talk today. You got another story?
I do.
Okay, move on.
This
is nothing personal.
No, I get it.
I love you, Steve, and Steve's a great reporter for us. But all right, go ahead and mention it.
You want me to?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just going to check the weather.
The California Supreme Court disbarred Trump attorney John Eastman yesterday.
Okay.
They disbarred him because he represented the president during the during the 2024 presidential election investigation. He was Trump's lawyer, so he brought up the stuff. He asserted that there may be some shenanigans in Atlanta or Arizona, and that's what his job was to do, was to represent President Trump's position. Well, the California Supreme Court thought that was a mortal sin, and they have disbarred John Eastman, who was a clerk of one of the Supreme Court justices. So they are still on the warpath against Trump attorneys. They're not letting this thing go. California Supreme Court.
Well, if you are, and maybe this is a question for another attorney, but if you're disbarred in a specific state, are you still allowed to practice law?
You got to order a Sprite. Huh? Oh, you're talking about a legal bar.
Legal, yeah.
I thought
disbarred legally.
If you were kicked out of the bar.
Yeah.
You see where I was going with that?
I see where you're going with that. Are you allowed to practice law in other states, or is he just?
I think you can.
Yeah, this is just isolated to California.
Yeah,
the California Supreme Court.
Attorneys have to get their licenses in whatever state they're going to practice in, and one doesn't affect the other, as far as I understand.
Okay, I believe that's correct.
Okay, go ahead, Steve. Next story.
All right. The sheriff's deputies in New York have arrested three teens, a 13-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, and a 14-year-old girl, because they were threatening to go into their school and do a school shooting. They obviously do not name the children, but three upstate New York students were arrested in an alleged school shooting plot, with one accused of writing that no one would be spared in a detailed plan to bring the violence of Columbine and Sandy Hook to their middle school. She wrote, "Everyone in their pathetic little lives will be gone. I want to be remembered in the worst, most disturbing way possible." Authorities were called to Clinton Middle School on April 11th after discovering that the three students planned to carry out the copycat shooting on April 17th in the school cafeteria.
Man, we need to keep praying for our nation, and especially our young people, this generation coming up. I'm just, I know for every story we hear about this, there are ones we don't hear about how the Lord is working, and there are good stories out there, folks. But
Steve just can't seem to find them.
It's harder. It's much harder to. There's just a lot of darkness.
True.
But there's just a lot of darkness, and we just need to continue praying for the Lord to do work in the hearts and minds, especially of young people, because they're the ones who are they're going to be taking over things when we're gone. Fred.
Well, we got Steve working on a positive story right now. It has to do with a Gallup poll that came out this morning.
Yeah.
The headline is, "New Poll Shows Religious Revival Among Young Men." New Gallup poll released today shows more young men in the U.S. say religion is very important in their lives compared to young women. The first time young men have surpassed young women on this measure of religiosity going back 25 years.
Wow.
Kind of interesting.
That is encouraging.
It is.
What do you think might be behind that, Fred?
Well, according to some of the analysts in this story, and you'll find it at afn.net, is because they feel that young men have been left behind by society. The story says particularly young white men are kind of being declassified in all the various categories or being blamed for all the problems that are going on in the nation. And they're turning to the Lord. They're turning to God. And so that's kind of interesting. The flip side, according to this story, is that more young women who say they may be Christian but are sympathetic to homosexuality, transgenderism, etc. So it's kind of interesting what's going on out there, the dynamics that are changing.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think young men are being drawn to, I call it being drawn to dogma. They want to be drawn to something that is stable. And the church, which is, follows God's word, which we all know is eternal and unchanging and stable. That's I think a lot of that is driving that move towards the church and back to the Lord, is because society continues to flip everything, all the social mores, all the social constructs that is the bedrock of a functioning, healthy society, are being flipped on their head. So they're watching everything being eroded before their eyes, and when you get to that point, you start to look for something that is stable and unchanging, and that's when the church can step up and say, well, here's the word of God, here's what God says about how societies should work, how we should behave, how we should live, and they're finding comfort in that, obviously, according to the polls.
There was a story that was last year sometime. An opinion columnist had made the observation that wokeness was feminism on steroids. Basically, if all the woke things, putting feelings above facts, don't want to offend anybody. You have to use their pronouns. You have to include them. The whole equity thing. These are all, this columnist argued, feminine traits. The women tend to be more sympathetic towards inclusion and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to the toxic masculinity that they were complaining about. This kind of tracks with that. These young men aren't buying into the wokeness, but the women in this poll seem to be. So I think it's another kind of data point that supports that theory that woke is nothing but feminism on steroids.
You're on your own on that one, Steve. Ladies and gentlemen, send your comments to Steve Jordahl at afr.net.
I'll take them because it's not a knock on women.
No,
God designed women and men with different character traits, and the female character traits are definitely godly and needed. But if you take the male point out of society, if you take the warrior out of society, you take the protector, then you're going to end up with a society that doesn't protect that basically what you had.
Yeah.
All right. Next
Just
story.
saying. All right.
Got about 5 minutes left.
Let's talk about the.
We can play music.
No. I got a story.
Plenty of stories.
The Olympics and the World Cup are coming to America, and Los Angeles is going to be hosting both of those things: the Olympics in 2028 and the World Cup in 2026. And hotel owners there, people in the support industry there, are saying you're in trouble, Los Angeles, because Los Angeles passed a $30 an hour minimum wage for its hotel workers.
Now that's supposed to go into effect gradually.
It is, but the ultimate $30 is going to be hit right about the time that the Olympics are going to be hitting. And what they're saying is people are going to have a hard. We're getting a whole influx of people from around the world to Los Angeles, and there aren't going to be any hotel workers or hotels open. Hotels can't afford to stay open if they have to pay everybody $30 an hour. Where are they going to put everybody?
I don't know. If you make your reservation,
maybe they can though. Maybe they can pay them $30 an hour.
Well, if you ask the mayor of Los Angeles, you
just
got to tax rich people more.
I interrupted you. Go ahead with your thought.
No, I don't know. If you make your reservation, this is me just kind of throwing this out there. If you
Your
make
dad
your
calls it
reservation
spitballing.
for spitballing, yeah, thank you. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah.
If you make a reservation for, at Holiday Inn Express in 2028, I mean, does the hotel just call you back in 2028 and say, look,
if the hotel is closed,
you paid this much, we need you to pay more? I don't know.
Or the hotel calls up and say, we're closing our LA hotel. You're going to have to find different arrangements.
Yeah.
I think it's just more of the California thinking. It
is.
It's the $20 minimum wage.
Right.
Remember the restaurants were saying, you want us to pay $20 to these people? Where are we going to get the money? Well, the only way is to up the price of a hamburger.
Yeah, the only way this stops is if the consumer, the customer, the tourist to California say, I'm not going there, I can't pay that anymore.
Right.
And that's not happened so far. It doesn't appear. Now, people are leaving California as residents. That's been widely reported because of the cost of living and the taxation and
businesses too.
Yeah, businesses too, because of the crazy liberal politics, especially as it impacts businesses. But
this was a boon from the mayor of L.A. to the American Hotel and Lodging Association.
Yeah,
this is what it's being reported as.
Yeah,
a union.
All right, we got a minute left. You got anything?
Nothing. Oh well, we could talk about the possible strike in the NFL. Referee strike.
Oh, referee's going to strike?
Well, yes. The NFL Referees Association is looking for a new labor deal with the league. And they are saying if they don't reach something by June 1st, they're going to strike. And so the NFL is already bringing in and starting to train replacement referees for the start of the season. I guess August about is when preseason starts.
Okay.
So you got replacement referees in the NFL?
You may have.
The replacement referees, they part of their training coming in is they will be training to accept bribes from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah,
that's part of their training.
Got to know where to put the money.
They extend their. All right, now extend your hand. Take the bribe. Extend your hand.
Okay.
Take the bribe. Patrick Mahomes is tackled.
Tony speaks
throw the
for
flag.
himself. We
Patrick
may agree
Mahomes
with
is tackled,
him.
Throw the flag. Look, I'm sorry. I was trying to help.
Have they hired you, Tony? Maybe I didn't. You didn't. I didn't know it.
Listen,
that sounded like his dad.
The NFL, I don't know if I'd be striking if I were the refs, because it won't be long till they have AI refereeing games. You won't even need.
Kind of like they're doing in baseball, huh?
Well, I'm just saying that's not anything being talked about right now, but. Well, I hope they get it worked out between the referees. They got to have referees, but
they do. Yeah.
And you don't want replacement referees in the NFL. That's you don't want second-rate referees, right? Am I right?
I'm right. I'm with you there.
You don't want a second fiddle referee. All right, Steve. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for all your news stories this half hour.
You're very welcome.
It's been a real blessing, and I'll think about them all day long. Okay.
Please don't.
Thanks to Tony, Fred, Chris, Brent, and Cole. See you tomorrow, everybody.